What's up everybody? Welcome to this really exciting workshop in partnership with Advanced Media Tech and Sony. My name is Jacques Crafford and I'm from South Africa. I'm a Sony Alpha Ambassador and I've been shooting on Sony for many years. But with that, I've also been waiting for the Sony A7S III for many years. So it's so exciting that it's finally arrived and Sony did not disappoint. So without further ado, I'm going to talk now and share with you my favorite features of using this camera and why I believe that it's better than anything the competition has to offer. I hope you guys enjoy it. Can you guys hear me? Okay, hello everybody, welcome to this session. Really excited and grateful for this opportunity to speak with you guys. I am Jacques and I'm from South Africa. This is my second time here in Dubai. I'm really happy to be here. I actually love this place. Some of my best memories with camera stuff happened in this city. So before we start, I want you to know that this is not going to be just a presentation. I don't want it to be like that. I want you guys to interact. Okay, so when I'm saying this, I want you to interrupt me. When I talk about something specific and you're unsure, if you have a question, please stop me. I won't get angry. Just say, Jacques, what about this? Or what do you mean when you say that? I would love to hear and get some feedback from you guys. So now I'm just going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm not here to talk about me, but just so that you can get an idea of where I come from and when I reference certain things, you'll know what I'm talking about. So just have a look at this quick video. So this is what I do. I specialize in tourism, travel and adventure films. So I make videos for a living. I do photography and I love it. But when I do working projects, I'm very specific about the projects I say yes to. So I have a passion for photography, but 90% of my work is video and it's mostly in the field, run and gun, outdoor adventure. I love documentaries. I do commercial work and I do shoot in studio, but not a lot. It's not a big part of what I do. So my focus is a run and gun solution, minimal rigs, minimal effort, minimal skeleton crew, and that's where my focus lies. But when I talk about this camera today, I want to assure you, and this is the point I want to bring across, that this camera is for absolutely everyone. If you're one of those people if you have a big crew and if you want to rig that up, you can do anything you want with this camera and still get that performance. But this camera enables you to get high-end cinema quality images with minimal effort and minimal crew. And this is why I'm so excited about the camera. Is they've gone and Sony took their Venice lineup and their FX9 and they gave us a lot of that features and packed it in a very small compact body that's easy to use and fast to operate. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you today is my 10 reasons why the A7 is better than anything that the competition has to offer. Now, when I go say the competition, I can't say all cameras because we have to put them into categories. We have to put them into classes. Okay. Now, first of all, I want to say that the A7S III is truly in a class of its own. okay? It's punching way above its weight class. So let's say we put it in a price class or we put it in a form factor class, okay? 100% outperforms anything that can come close to it, okay? And I will be talking about that. I'm not just going to list features, I'm going to share how I use that practically and how that will actually make my images look better, and that I really believe that even the more expensive cameras that compete with this one, they don't offer the same performance and value, okay? So the first thing that I look for in a camera, more than high resolutions, so more than 8K, more than any resolution, is dynamic range, okay? Now please understand that I'm not here to put down other brands. I'm not here to say Canon is not good or Nikon is not good, or that's not what I'm saying. When I do a comparison, it's purely from a point of view from I need this for my work and this camera performs better. I'm not going to say don't buy this or don't buy that. At the end of the day, it's still a tool, but this is the tool that I prefer to use, and it's enabled me to get the best out of my work, okay? The dynamic range is the biggest thing I look for in a camera, and with this now, the 15 stops of dynamic range, I'm able to get shots that usually I wouldn't be able to shoot or capture the way I do without lighting the scenes. For example, this is an example. In that No Limits film you saw earlier, this is the type of shot, usually with the older 8-bit Sonys, I would only get one result here, two results. I would either have to overexpose the sky, which means it'll just be blown out. That's the only way I could get the foreground in there. Or if I exposed for the sky, it would be a silhouette. That's how dark the foreground, because there's no light coming from the back. There's only the sun rising. As you can see, look at the soft roll-off on the highlights there in the sky and all the details there in the foreground in the rock. That little green you see is just a lens flare from the sun hitting the lens. Okay, so more than pixels, we are looking at dynamic range and color. Now I will be the first to admit that Sony doesn't always exactly, especially the Alpha models, didn't exactly have the best color. But if you knew what you were doing in post, you can get incredible results. But some people, maybe you're sitting here, you're one of those people, you don't want to spend that time in grading, or you don't know how to achieve that look. You feel like, oh, I don't want to. Well, that has changed with this camera, okay? They have adopted the color science from the Venice lineup and the FX9, and you're getting incredible skin tones straight out of the camera, okay? You don't have to put in effort anymore. You don't have to try and correct it. By just using a conversion from S-Log to Rec 709, you're getting a beautiful image, okay? That's just if you want to just to start with.
And even with the standard profile?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It just depends. I'll tell you why I'm going to, the reason I hammer on log so much, I will be talking about S-Log a lot, especially for Sony shooters, because I know if you sit here and you're shooting on Sony, you know that S-Log 3 is something that we don't want to talk about because it's noisy. You have to overexpose. It's difficult to grade. It's too much work. For a lot of the work that we have to do, the stuff that we want to put out, it's just too much work, okay? So for that reason, someone like me, in most of the stuff I shot outside in the field, I just didn't shoot in S-Log. I shot with another picture profile. Okay, so a little bit later in the session, I will show you the different profiles, but you're still getting the same color. And in fact, one of the best out-of-the-box colors you're going to get is by just turning off all the profiles and actually just adding the color. But I'll show you guys on the screen. So on that note, we have a model over here. Her name is Daria. And we're just going to go shoot also. We're going to shoot a few shots, and I'm going to show you in post what happens when you take this from the camera to post and immediately throw it up on the screen without actually touching any. I'm not going to do HSL qualifiers. I'm not going to do masking. I'm just going to add a LUT over it. Okay, I want you guys to see that because my focus is to tell you how easy it has become now with this camera to shoot log, and also how easy it is to grade it. It takes no effort. It's no effort. You shoot, you put your light, and it's finished. Okay, so this has really changed from the previous Alpha models. It's absolutely it's a pleasure to shoot in log mode, and also because log mode gives you that maximum dynamic range. Okay, now this camera has no limits. Literally, it has no recording limits, so you can record until the battery runs out, or until your card is full. So there's many scenarios where you would need that, but for documentaries, I've had it where an interview just goes on and on and on. And especially if you're only running one cam. Sometimes I did an interview set up with one cam, 4K, so I can crop, and then they carry on and on and on. I have to stop and record again. You don't have to do that anymore. Okay? Also, this camera doesn't overheat. Now, I don't know about Dubai in summer. I haven't experienced that. But in my experience, I didn't have the camera up until now, from before the launch. It didn't overheat a single time, and I didn't even get the temperature warning. So this camera is reliable. Okay, I trust this camera. I shot with it for days on end in the mountains in the South African sun, and it didn't give me any issues. Even inside in a studio setup with RE lights, everything got the whole day. I had it in my hands because I shoot handheld a lot. It's also something I love to talk about. I shoot about 80% of my work just with my hands. And when you put your hands on the camera, that also adds some extra heat. And I didn't have any issues. So this camera is reliable. Okay? Now we know Sony is known for having the best low light. The A7S came out, then the A7S II improved on that. And it's no surprise that the S3 went a step further and they actually improved that. But I'm not here to talk to you about that. What I want to talk to you about is that this camera has an ability that other cameras don't. Okay? It's truly in a class of its own. You can shoot in log mode at super high ISOs. Now, most professionals will tell you, no, you don't want to go there. Stay away from log mode, especially in low light scenes where you don't have to boost the ISO. Rather light it or just don't, switch to another picture profile. Well, you don't have to with this camera. If you need that ISO performance, it's going to deliver. So I'm going to show you guys a practical example. Just to show you right now, the picture profile is off. Okay, I'm going to switch to log mode. This is S-Log3, S-Gamut 3 Cine. Okay. Now, if you look at the ISO, right now I'm on ISO 160, which means you're actually able to shoot at that ISO. Okay, but the base ISO for this camera is 640. That is where you get the maximum dynamic range. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is that when you go up with your ISO, usually past 2500, most people will tell you, no, stop. You can't do that. Let's just stop down a bit. Look at all the noise coming into the frame. As I go high, look at the top there. What's that? That's clean. Okay? This is not noise reduction. This is a dual base ISO. Okay? Because you can take it a step further. The moment you go up to 16,000, 20,000, that's actually cleaner than 10,000.
So
okay?
It's as clean as 640?
It's as clean. I found that in some instances there's a bit more noise, but the dynamic range is 100% the full performance that you get on the base ISO. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to show you now, let's talk about the frame rates. So the high frame rates is something that I've been waiting for a long time in Sony cameras, especially 60p, and Sony came and gave us 120p, okay? But I'm not here to talk about that. What I want to talk about is the fact that more than just having that frame rate in 4K, Sony went and they gave us full functionality of autofocus. That means you get exactly the same autofocus performance, the real-time eye autofocus for video and the phase detect at 100% same performance in the high frame rates, exactly like the low frame rates. Okay? Taking it a step further, you're actually able to record audio, where a lot of the other cameras, especially the cameras in disc glass, they give you an S&Q version. It's like a slowed down version without sound. So if you ever need to get the sound, now you have the option. Okay.
And you get the sound in real time?
Real time.
Down?
Real time.
Real time. Okay.
Real time. Yes, real time audio. Okay. So what I'm going to show you is just a quick clip. This is a demo that we shot in the high frame rates. They wanted to display everything in 100 frames so that you can see there's only 2 shots that's not in 100 frames, but the entire video is basically 100 frames per second. And it's rendered in HD, so it's not even a 4K display that you're watching now. It's a HD render. It's just to show what happens when you downscale that 4K footage and you render it out to 1080p, the detail. And that also enables me to crop, which is why in this video I did a lot of cropping to help with my transitions. Okay, have a look.
Alpha. Pen is ready.
Was shot just with my hands in 3 hours.
So you shoot them on higher frame rates and you reduce it in post?
Yes.
Okay.
So on that note, I just want to say this camera can also still have the audio for that high frame rates. So it's shooting in 25p package, but you can conform it and slow it down to slow motion. You can shoot in S&Q, but I'm not a fan of S&Q because I want to have that freedom to slow it down instead of it being slowed down for me. So now what I want to talk about is the advanced autofocus. Okay, so I've always been a believer, that's like right through the years until recently, I've been a believer that manual is the only way to go. And manual is what they use in cinema, it's what they use in commercials, they have focus pullers, and it works, and it's amazing, okay? But someone like me who's a little bit smaller, I don't always have the luxury of a focus puller. I don't always have the same accuracy in manual focus that you can now get in autofocus, okay? But autofocus has gotten to the point where it's no longer a gimmick. It's actually something that I rely on. Someone like me, I don't have a crew, I don't have focus pullers, I rely on autofocus, okay? And it's gotten to the point where 90%, 95% of my shots, I'm using autofocus because it works and I can trust it. And Sony's taken it a step further. They didn't just give us good autofocus, they gave us really good autofocus in low light. There's many situations where you need that. Okay, so I'm going to just give you guys a quick example. I love this. You guys can please switch off the lights for me. First of all, I'm just going to shoot at 1.4 because I want you guys just to see how seamless the transition is on the eye. So right now it's nailing the eye, so I'm going to come close. See how seamless that is? It's perfectly on the eye. If I go back a little bit, you don't see it changing. It's just that organic focus, okay? Now, what I'm going to do, let's just stop down a little bit. I like that a little bit more. Okay, Dario, would you mind getting up for me? First, we're going to just see how quickly it picks up on the eye, okay? You mind spinning around for me? Stop. Other way. Okay, and now do a few times. You guys see how quickly that is? Now I want you to know that the moment that little box goes to the eye, that is the camera giving you a guarantee that it's in focus. Okay? So in other words, if it doesn't give you that little box, if it gives you the big box, it's saying that the face is in focus. If you're not getting the big box, then you know it's not in focus. But when it nails the eye, it's a guarantee that it's critical focus on the eye. And you can see which eye. You can even tell the camera which eye you want it to focus on, left eye, right eye, or automatic. Like right now it was automatic. So it reads, like if her hair is a little bit in the way, it's reading what eye is going to be the best to focus on. You can sit down for a second. Another place where this comes in handy is the eye focus takes priority, especially over stuff in the foreground or in the background. Sometimes you have objects moving in the foreground. As long as it locks on the eye, for example over here, look at the plants over here, okay? Because I move here, it's staying on the eye. See that? Usually it would just autofocus to the plant, okay? But the reason I'm raving about this autofocus is not because, wow, it always focuses on the eye. It's you have the choice. You can use the touchscreen, tap to focus, okay? You can track objects if you want to. The tracking is really spot on. And now I want to show you my favorite part. Okay, let's do the low light test. And you can just take a few steps back. You can go. Go, go, go. Remember, this is wide. Go for it. Here we go. Face, eye, on the eye, on the eye. Still on the face, on the eye. Come on, guys. That's amazing. That's pretty much in the dark. You can come forward. And you can walk sideways a little bit. See how it's tracking? Come to me, right to the lens. Got it. Guys, that's amazing. Okay, now it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. You can actually decide how fast you want it to focus. In other words, if you think it's too fast and you want a more natural focus tracking, you can adjust the speed. Okay, so I'm going to just show you an example. Let's set it to 3. No, 2 is quite slow. Okay, so I want you to do that thing with the hand. And action. Take it away. You see that? That's beautiful. It's that slow focus. Now the same thing applies. Let's say I wanted to focus using the touch focus. It's going to use the same speed. So if you want to do the tap to focus with your finger, you can make it super slow and you can have that beautiful rack focus. Now in an example of where I would use the fastest focus is if I'm shooting slow-mo. Because if you're shooting slow-mo and you slow it down, that focus takes longer. So that's where you really want that super fast autofocus, if something is in slow motion, just to have that more smooth transition. It's just nice that you have the option. Okay, the thing I'm trying to say is that it's no longer a gimmick. Like autofocus is actually something that a lot of us, many of us can rely on. It's something that actually is going to give us better results. There are a lot of shots, especially when I'm shooting people, where the human error is always there's always going to be a room for human error if I have to do it manual. But if you enable the autofocus, if you trust the autofocus, you know the camera's going to do it for you and you can rely on it. Okay, so Sony's really gone the extra step with their autofocusing. Okay, you have a variety of codec options. I'll show you guys a little bit later in the session. I'll go through the menu. But they're giving you all the options, not just in codecs, but like you have the H.265 HEVC codec, which is the new codec that everyone's going to shoot on, and it's the codec of the future. It's a high efficiency video codec. And then you have the H.264, which a lot of us have been shooting on until now. But now you also have 8-bit, 10-bit, 420, 422. You have high bit rates and you have medium and low bit rates. So based on your delivery, based on your client, on the project that you're doing, you can decide which one you want to shoot on. They're not going to limit you to the highest bit rates only. So for example, I do a lot of qualifying with the HSL qualifier. That means I love to shoot in 422 because I want to get the maximum keying in my grading. But what if you don't need to do that? Then you don't have to shoot 422. You can shoot 420, but still have 10-bit. Like the jump from 8-bit to 10-bit is massive, so I still recommend that. But even if you don't need 10-bit and it's just a quick delivery for a client, you can go to the lower bit rates. You don't have to shoot at the highest bit rate. So it's nice to have those options. Okay?
And editing performance of 10-bit.
Yes. So first of all, I can say this, that the editing performance of the all-intra codec is very fast. Okay? Because it's uncompressed, not uncompressed, but it's a lot bigger. The editing performance of the 420 clips are much faster. The 422, it starts slowing down. So 10-bit 420 handles really well. Okay, the H.264 422 also kind of handles well. That's my computer over there. It's a MacBook 2013. That is what I edit on. I don't have a big Mac. I don't have a trash can, a big set. That's what I edit on. So I rely on proxies and I rely on editing natively.
HEVC also?
Yeah, HEVC, I recommend proxies unless you have one of the newest Macs. The newest Macs have the T2, the Apple T2 chip, which has a HEVC coder built in. Okay. And also the software is still being optimized for that. But I think within the next 6 months, we will see incredible results with the HEVC codec because it's getting to that point. Okay, this camera, rolling shutter, it's gone. You don't have to think. I'm not saying it's not there. It's not a global shutter, but it's no longer an issue. It's something that I don't even think about. Okay?
It can be used for 3D tracking and stuff like that.
3D.
Because usually when in post, if I do 3D tracking for the camera, if there is a lot of rolling shutter,
yes,
it affect the calculation.
I really think you can do that. So I have done a lot of stress tests where you do this, and like the mountain bike is coming fast quickly, 100 frames a second, and also in 25 frames a second. And I didn't notice that once. Wow. Okay, so we did 2 tests. This is not my test. This is the test by Gerald Undone. He's on YouTube. Very cool guy. Go check him out. And he did that test, and it's gotten to the point where you don't see it with your eye. Okay. This camera can do dual recording in all modes. Okay. What I'm saying by that is your highest resolution to your lowest resolution, you have two of the same speed card slots. Okay. Canon doesn't have that. Like a lot of cameras have a fast slot and a slow slot, which means you can't shoot 8K simultaneously. You can't shoot this one. You can shoot all your frame rates simultaneously onto two cards.
You can shoot proxies and full.
Exactly. So you can record proxies and onto your cards. And if you really want to take it to the next level, you can add a Atomos Ninja 5 and you can output external RAW to ProRes RAW and still have the recording onto the camera. Okay, so it's really giving you that freedom to simultaneously record. The lenses is something that I am super happy about. I'll tell you why. Because when I switched to the A7S Mark I, I only had Canon lenses. I came from Canon. I had a C100, 5D Mark III, and 1DX, and I sold all of it. And at that time, Sony didn't have a lot of options. It was 6 years ago. And then somehow, overnight, one day I woke up and I had the most lenses. Because right now, in full-frame mirrorless, in mirrorless, they have the biggest lens lineup, okay? But that's not what makes me excited. I'm not even speaking about the native, the other brands, just the native lens lineup. It's 55 lenses, okay? What I'm talking about is their one-mount philosophy, okay? That means from the low-end APS-C cameras all the way through to their high-end cinema cameras, they're all using one mount. And this is recently they made this commitment and saying, we're sticking with this mount. So if you invest into the brand now, if you have already invested into Sony glass, you know it's going to last. Because they're not, if you buy a G Master lens now, even if you upgrade to the latest cinema camera in 2-3 years from now, you will be able to use that lens. And because Sony's been doing mirrorless for such a long time, Canon only recently has decided to say, let's make mirrorless cameras, and now we need new lenses, now we need adapters. Same for Panasonic, they had micro four third cameras. Now all of a sudden they have full frame cameras, they need new lenses. They have a very small lens lineup, and they're still making, where Sony is now just improving on those lenses. So it's really good to have that confidence in saying that I'm buying glass that's going to last. Okay, Sony is priced the best. 100%, you cannot beat the price that what they offer and the value and performance of this camera, nothing comes close to it. The Canon R5, the Panasonic S1H, they are all priced higher. They don't offer the same performance and value than this camera. Okay, priced lower ones, you will say, someone will come to me and say, but what about the Blackmagic, the 4K Pocket or the 6K? Those cameras are amazing. You'll get beautiful images from them. Okay, but how difficult is it to use those on a day-to-day basis? They don't have flip-out screens, they don't have IBIS, they don't have autofocus. Some of them are literally only manual, but the ones who do have autofocus, they really suck. It's not reliable.
Battery don't last long.
Battery don't last, so it's just a hack to work around. So you have to ask, what do I use it for? What am I going to use it for? And for someone like me, day-to-day use, handout, smaller crews, there's nothing that comes close. So the value that you're getting out of this body, if that's for you, I really believe that this camera is priced the best. Okay, I'm just quickly going to talk about the Steady Shot Active. This is something that I added with the new model. Sony has had in-body image stabilization for a long time. It's not new, okay? They've had it since, I think, 2015 or 2014, which means when I switched to that, that enabled me to shoot handheld from there onwards. And today, 80% of my work, I shoot just with my hands. I don't use tripods, I use a gimbal a lot for specific shots, but most of the shots is like this, okay? Because of that in-body image stabilization. It's just this new active steady shot, okay? Just, I'm standing still, okay? I call this tripod mode. I'm zooming in. This is a digital zoom. It's not actually zooming in. Look at that. This is a prime lens, okay? Now I'm going to move. Let's just switch on this one so you can see the level, okay? And look at that. I mean, who walks with a camera like this? See how stable that is? It's going to give you really good results when you don't have a gimbal or you don't have time to set up the gimbal. Now, I have missed shots because I was struggling with my gimbal and oh, something happened. Especially when I do documentary work. Documentary work, you don't have time to tell your cast, wait, reset. Something's happening right there, you got to catch the moment. So that's where if you want to, if you have that function in your camera, you can just do that shot where you just, even if it's just a pullback. So I do shoot handheld all the time, but sometimes it's the difference between pulling back from here to there and getting that perfectly smooth shot. This was in normal frames, 25 frames per second. If you slow it down, super smooth. You guys know this. If you slow down footage, it's much smoother. Okay, so that's one of the things I just wanted to show you. Now let's talk about the new menu. Okay, the menu has been redesigned, but I'm not actually going to hammer on that. I want to show you something else what I love about this camera. So this is the movie mode. I'm in video mode. When you switch to photo mode, it's going to only give you the photo options. So in video mode, you see only the video options, so the menu is less clutter. Okay, it's much easier to set up your buttons now. When you customize your buttons, I'm just going to show you. This is the main thing I want to show you guys. Okay. So you can customize this camera. There's 3 options here. That is photo mode, video mode, playback mode. So if I set my camera up for photo mode, there's all the dials. We've got 11 buttons that we can assign to anything on the menu. And the same I can do for video, but I can change it to something else. So the moment I switch from photo to video, that function, the one button that just did this, now does something else. So what I want to do is, I want to do my Kelvin, okay? Boom, done. I'm not even looking at the camera. It's like, that's how quick it is. I like to do a custom shift, especially if there's a tint coming off a light or whatever, and I'm not able to adjust it on the light. I just want to fix it quickly in the camera, and I want to see it on the screen. For example, here, let's make it green. Wait. Sometimes it's too green or too magenta. It's really quick to fix, okay? Then, I can do my picture profiles, I can switch on peaking, I can put on my zebras, I can put on my gamma assist. The gamma assist doesn't show through the HDMI, but that's the thing I spoke about in my behind the scenes video, where it takes your log footage on the camera, applies the Rec 709 LUT, so that you can see what it's going to look like in post. And I'll show you guys this now after. Okay, I just wanted to mention that. I can check my focus. See how quickly that is. I'm not even looking at the camera. I'm just doing it while I'm walking. The only time I have to go into the menu is if I want to change my frame rate. That's the only time. Maybe if I format my card. I mean, how often do you do that? That's the only time I need to go into the menu. If you look at this menu, you will see it's called My Menu. You can now bind a button for My Menu. So if I press this button, it gives me My Menu. If I press the menu button, it goes to another menu. So there's 2 pages you can just access like that. If you need more pages, I only need 1. It finally has a flip out screen. Okay. There are shots where you would use it. For example, the food shoot that you guys saw. I had the camera like this. We put a glass over and she threw the salt on and I was able to see on the screen without attaching a monitor. That's why I was able to do that shoot so quickly. Okay. Proxy recording. We mentioned it now. I love it when I don't have to render proxies. So it's really cool to know that I can trust the camera to put it out for me. It's in a separate folder. I can just reconnect it in post. Okay. Workflow and usage. Now this is where I actually want to shoot a little bit. But before I do, I'm just quickly going to show you guys the formats I mentioned earlier. So let's just go into that menu. So here we have the high efficiency video codec at the top. This is the old H.265 codec. Still very good. And when you go in there, you still have your options. So there's your 10-bit, your 8-bit, and your low bit rate if you need that. But if you go into the high efficiency codec, you'll see, here we go. Especially if you go, let's say 50p. And just want to show you the list. Look at that list of options. 420, 422, 420, 422, and there's high and low bit rates. Okay. But something to know about this HEVC codec is 200 megabits per second on HEVC is not to be confused with 200 megabits per second on the All-I or the IPB. This is also a long GOP codec, but this is the HEVC coding. It's high efficiency video coding. So this is actually going to give you more performance. There's more detail in that image than just saying 200 megabits per second. Okay, so some people think that it's low, but it's actually because of that codec, it's much higher. Okay, and then we have the all-eye codec. If you go into the all-eye codec, you'll see your bitrate super high, 500 megabits a second. Get bigger file sizes, but they edit faster. Okay, so Sony shooter sitting here. If this was any other talk, you would ask me, Jacques, what picture profile do you shoot on? And I would say, this one, Cine 4, or this one. Now, there's only one profile I recommend, and that's S-Log 3. Because it's super easy to shoot, super easy to grade, and it's going to give you that best dynamic range. It's no longer a hack. It's no longer a mission. It's easy to work with. Okay? If you really don't want to do that, I would recommend shooting with picture profile off. So this profile right here, the profile off, that's going to give you an out of the camera beautiful, beautiful skin tones, beautiful colors. But you don't want to, like, that's if you don't really want to grade too much, because it's already quite contrasty. You can change the contrast settings if you want to in post, in camera, so it comes out a bit more flat. But this is only if you don't want to put too much work in it. I still recommend S-Log 3 because you maximize the dynamic range. So with that being said, I'm going to show you how I shoot in that and how easy it is. Okay. I just want to get a better movement over there. And action. And check over your shoulder. Look into the lens. Back on your book. And look at me. That's it. Cool. That's enough. Let's take that into post. Who's editing on Premiere Pro? 1, 2, 3. And DaVinci?
Yeah, Pro. Yes.
Anyone on DaVinci here?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. Anyone on Final Cut? Okay. So I used to edit on Premiere Pro for many years, and I just recently switched to DaVinci, and it's incredible. Like, it's amazing what you can do with it. So if you want to know more about it, I'll be happy to tell you. First, I'm going to download that clip.
In which format, this one?
This one is H.265, 10-bit 422. H.264, sorry.
H.264.
Yeah, so it's the
Online?
XAVCS. No, it's the IPV long GOP codec. Okay, let's open DaVinci. Okay. Okay, so what I want you guys to see, especially if you're a Sony shooter, this will be quite valuable to you. Let's just find the Euro frame. That's a Euro frame, that's good. Okay. I am simply, let's just quickly add the background rendering on.
So it doesn't play real time right away, right?
No, I mean, it can, but it will be laggy because of my laptop. But if you put this render cache on, it will be super smooth. So guys, I'm not going to work on the skin tone here. I'm just going to add a LUT, 100%. The LUT I'm adding is the Sony Pro LUT. It's on the Sony Pro website. It's the conversion from S-Log 3 to Rec 709. Okay, and this is for a lot of jobs where you don't want to put in a lot of work. You can just add the LUT. That's how simple it is. Okay, I love to go much further, but I'm just going to add the LUT for now. Okay, look at that. Let's give it a pause. Now I'm going to give it a moment to render quickly. See, it's already been rendering in the background. So when that thing goes blue, I can just play it back on this laptop. And you guys will be able to see the quality. Look at that skin tone. Look at the focus. There we go. That's easy, right?
Yeah.
This was impossible with the previous Alpha cameras. It's no effort.
In your video presentation, what we saw before we came here, it's also you use same LUT?
On every single clip I shot in S-Log.
everything.
The whole video was shot in S-Log 3.
Oh.
So if you want to, on YouTube, I have the same video, but they list the ISO, the S-Log, the lens, everything on every single shot. So you can,
Even outside, if I will use the same loot,
especially outside.
it will be amazing.
Especially outside. That's where this thing, I mean, with the previous Sony cameras, I would shoot outside and add my LUT, because that's where I like, because you don't have struggle with noise as much. So especially outside, you get that nice dynamic range. Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend any other profile with this camera. It's really, there's a difference. I mean, if you look at the dynamic range, there's the roll off on the hair, the dress, the skin, it's like very soft. And it's that pleasing look. Yeah. So guys, that's it. That's where I'm going to stop with this session. Please don't leave just yet. If you have more questions for me, I'm going to be around here, but we have cameras. If you guys want to fill that hands-on, please come ask me a question and relating to anything with the camera. Thank you so much for watching this session. We really appreciate it. I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
Cool.